Hey there, folks. Welcome back to the Sheepdogs Union. Today I wanted to continue my series on gun safety for the non-gun nut. And today I want to talk about safe storage. So what constitutes safe storage? Why is it that so many people in the pro-gun community oppose safe storage laws? And yeah, those are the two main points to make. So why do we generally oppose safe storage laws? The reason is because what actually constitutes safe storage is more nuanced than what usually gets captured in law, and also the people writing the laws are not familiar with guns. They're not familiar with the use of guns for self-defense and that type of thing. And so, for an example, here in South Carolina, as a foster parent, I have a different set of rules that I have to adhere by, and one of those is that I have to keep the gun locked up with the ammunition stored separately. I can't keep it loaded and locked up, which doesn't actually make it any safer. You're talking about a 3-second delay. If they can get the safe open, they can load the gun. Like, you're not making it any safer, but what you are doing is making it harder to use in a self-defense situation, which does still happen. So that's actually probably the number one defensive gun use situation in the U.S. is home defense. And so having the statistics are actually pretty bad, because while almost 50% of households have a gun, most people don't actually store the gun in a way that is readily accessible to somebody who would be using it in self-defense. And so it ends up not being employed as effectively as it should. So that's the main reason why we oppose safe storage laws, is because they're often poorly written and end up putting unnecessary and often counterproductive burdens on the gun owner. So let's talk about what actually constitutes safe storage. So the key thing is limiting access to authorized people. So that depends entirely on who you are, where you live, how you live, who lives with you. And so if you live alone by yourself, then just having it somewhere where you're not actually going to step on it in the middle of the night and pull the trigger with your toe or something, that's good enough if you're in that situation. Whereas if you've got toddlers, then it needs to be in some way that is completely childproof. And I like to use, I personally have the standard of I want to have 2 factors engaged. So there need to be 2 safety factors. So my carry rig, I need to have at least 2 safety factors. How I store my guns needs to be at least 2 safety factors. So for me, now I have to abide by South Carolina regulations, which is different, but before I was a foster parent, I would store the guns in a safe with a simple code lock that was quick to open if you needed it. And then I would store them with a loaded magazine but an empty chamber, so you would still have to rack the slide in order to load the gun. And that's something that none of my kids was strong enough to do that, so I knew that it was safe in that condition. Now if you're in a situation where there's an adult in the home with, say, a mental health issue, then your level of security needs to be that much higher, and it needs to be something that they're not going to be able to crack, so a sturdy safe, something like that. Whereas, if it's just toddlers, a locked drawer could be good enough. But one of the things that is really common, and unfortunately this is one of the top gun accidents out there, at least it's the most notable, if it's not, maybe not necessarily the most common, but is kids getting access to their parent's gun because their parent just stuck it in a drawer or stuck it in a purse or something like that. concealment is not security. And so if you're a first-time gun owner and you just want that one simple gun for home defense or whatever, which I applaud you for doing that, but you've got to have a secure way to store it. And just sticking it in a drawer and not telling anybody about it is not good enough. You need to, as soon as your kids are old enough to understand the conversation, you need to talk gun safety with them. That you can do the NRA Eddie Eagle program. It's real simple. Stop, don't touch, run away, tell a grown up. Real simple. And that's, training the kids not to mess with it if you screw up and leave it accessible, but then making sure everybody knows that it's there, making sure everybody knows that it's dangerous, and making sure that it's secure so that somebody who's not authorized to use it can't get to it, while at the same time making sure that you can get to it very quickly if you need to. So that's what I have to say about safe storage. There are lots of different products on the market. Little one handgun safes that have a little quick, push button lock on the top. Those are great. You can biometric locks. I'm not super keen on the biometric locks because they're not necessarily as reliable as I would like. That's usually good enough. So, like I said, think about it. There's not a simple formula, and that's why we don't like safe storage laws, is because it's nuanced. What does your situation look like? What does your house look like? Are your kids particularly exploratory and likely to figure out a lock or something like that? If that's the case, then you need extra layers of security. But operability is not necessarily security. So storing ammo separately, again, that's just a minor delay. It's not going to make you any safer. What's going to make you safer is making sure that gun is not accessible, unless you need it. So with that, stay safe, stay vigilant, and always be ready to be somebody else's miracle. See you later.